You look at the football landscape right now, right? And it feels like the whole world is just entirely distracted.
Oh, completely. Everyone is looking the wrong way.
Exactly. The 2026 World Cup is in full swing. You know, the heat is suffocating, and you have your eyes glued to the drama unfolding over in the States and Mexico. But let me tell you something.
You need to wake up.
Yes, because if you are focusing on the international break right now, you are looking in the absolute wrong direction. The real earthquake, I mean, the absolute tectonic shift in world football is happening behind closed doors.
Right under our noses.
Right now. Inside Valdebebas. The lights are on late. You know, Jose Mourinho and Florentino Perez are locked in the boardroom, and they are ruthlessly engineering a brand new Real Madrid war machine for the 2026-2027 season.
It is a total, and I mean total, structural teardown and rebuild. What we are seeing internally is a complete reset of the squad's hierarchy.
You're talking about a massive purge.
Absolutely. This isn't just about tweaking a starting 11 or making a flashy summer signing. This is a highly classified, top-to-bottom internal blueprint. Mourinho has walked in, looked at the roster, and started drawing incredibly harsh lines in the sand.
Right.
We are talking about defining the absolute untouchables, identifying massive beloved names that have suddenly been pushed onto the chopping block, and executing a tactical revolution in the midfield.
And we can't forget that desperate, obsessive hunt for a pure, traditional number 9.
Exactly. The hunt is real.
So we're taking you straight into that boardroom today for this deep dive. We are going to expose exactly who survives this summer purge, who gets sacrificed, and how the tactical geometry of this team is about to change forever.
It's going to be brutal.
It is. So let's not waste a single second. Let's rip right into Operation Exit and the untouchable core, because Mourinho has locked the door, and I want to know who actually has a guaranteed seat at his table. Like, who is 100% safe no matter what offer arrives.
Well, it is a remarkably short list. You have the foundational pillars, Thibaut Courtois, obviously, because he remains the absolute rule.
Of course.
Antonio Rudiger, who just renewed his contract. I mean, he is the enforcer Mourinho demands. Jude Bellingham, who is essentially a tactical and commercial machine that you build around. And Kylian Mbappe, the unquestioned crown jewel of the project.
The untouchable core. Makes sense.
But then you have the new arrivals who have instantly been classified as untouchable foundation pieces. We are talking about Cucurella, Konate, Diomande, and Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Wait, hold on. Cucurella, Konate, Diomande, and Trent.
Yes.
They literally just walked through the door and they were instantly locked in as untouchables alongside Bellingham and Mbappe.
Absolutely locked in, because they represent the exact physical and tactical profiles Mourinho requested.
Wow.
You also have to add the injured players to that secure list, but for entirely different, purely pragmatic reasons.
Right, because you can't sell them.
Exactly. Eder Militão, Ferland Mendy, and Rodrigo, who is, out until January. They aren't going anywhere simply because they're injured assets. From an internal asset management perspective, nobody is dropping massive capital on players facing long rehabilitations.
Yeah, Mourinho knows he has to hold them, integrate them later, and just work around their absences.
Exactly. But here's where the boardroom gets absolutely ruthless. Here is where the equilibrium of the squad is being tested to its limit.
Brace yourselves.
If a massive offer, and internally we are talking north of 100 million euros, arrives on Florentino's desk, Fede Valverde and Aurelien Tchouameni are officially on the market.
No, wait, absolutely not.
It's the reality.
No, I know everyone listening is screaming at their speakers right now because I refuse to accept that logic. You are talking about the absolute physical engine of this team.
I know, but...
Selling Valverde is like ripping the engine out of a Ferrari just to pay for a new paint job.
Yeah.
How can we even consider dismantling the physical core of this team? Valverde bleeds Madrid. He covers every single blade of grass.
Which is exactly the problem. Listen to me. You have to understand the tactical mechanisms at play here. This is about squad equilibrium.
Equilibrium. By selling our engine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Look at the reality of how Kylian Mbappe operates on the pitch. He is an unparalleled attacking weapon, but he demands heavy tactical accommodation. He stays high.
Well, yeah, he's the spearhead.
Right, but he does not drop deep into the trenches to defend when the opposition pins us back.
Sure, he rests while the midfield does the dirty work. We've known this.
Exactly. But think about the consequence of that dirty work. because Mbappe stays high, the opposing fullback is suddenly free to push forward and overload our midfield. And who has to cover that extra space?
Valverde.
Valverde. We are forcing our central midfielders to cover an extra 3 to 4 kilometers per game just to patch the holes left by a structurally imbalanced front line.
And that leads to burnout.
Total physical burnout. It leads to structural collapse in the 80th minute of tight Champions League games. Mourinho doesn't want midfielders who just run until they drop.
He wants a system.
He wants a system where they don't have to run aimlessly. He wants to sell Valverde or Tchouaméni for $100 million to fund a hyper-calculated midfield structure that controls the ball so we aren't constantly defending in a blind panic.
I mean, I hear what you were saying about the geometry of it, but cashing in on Valverde fundamentally changes our identity.
It's ruthless, but it's calculated.
And look, if we are talking about Mbappe's tactical gravity breaking the system, we have to talk about the collateral damage on the left wing. Because the tension with Vinicius Jr. right now is explosive.
It is the absolute elephant in the room. Internally, there is a cold acknowledgement that Vinicius's form has been entirely irregular over the last 2 years.
Right.
Mbappe has arrived, commanded the left half space, and suddenly Vinicius is suffocating. They are constantly stepping on each other's toes.
The spatial conflict is obvious to anyone watching.
And to make matters worse, Vinicius is playing hardball with his contract. He knows if he refuses to sign and waits until 2027, he can walk away as a free agent and collect a monumental signing bonus from a Premier League club.
Which means we lose a €150 million asset for absolutely nothing.
Which is exactly why the internal directive is completely clear right now. If he does not renew right now, put him on the market this summer.
This summer. We are talking about a Champions League hero, a Ballon d'Or contender.
Real Madrid does not allow itself to be held hostage. Not by anyone.
Wow.
If Vinicius is not fully committed to the hierarchy of this new structure, Florentino will cash in immediately. You cannot have spatial conflict on the pitch and contract rebellion in the boardroom. It's a ruthless pivot, but it is entirely necessary to fund the revolution.
Okay, so let's follow the money and the strategy here.
Yeah.
The financial necessity of balancing the books. Whether that funding comes from a Valverde sale, Tchouaméni, or a shocking blockbuster Vinicius exit is all funneling directly into this tactical shift.
Yes.
And that brings us to the arrival of Bernardo Silva. We have him locked on a 2+1 contract, and this completely resets the tactical board.
It changes the entire geometry of how Real Madrid will play football. Bernardo Silva is not coming to sit on the bench or be a rotational piece.
Obviously not.
He is expected to play a foundational role. Mourinho is looking at deploying him in a double pivot, potentially alongside Tchouaméni, if he survives the summer, or operating slightly higher as a traditional number 8.
Let's break that down for the listener, because, we throw around terms like double pivot and number 8 a lot. When you say Bernardo operates in a double pivot, give the listener a visual. How does that physically change what happens in the center of the pitch compared to what we've been doing?
A double pivot simply means 2 central midfielders operating side by side, just in front of the defense, acting as a twin shield and the primary distributors.
Okay.
But here is the key. Mourinho wants Bernardo there to completely change the tempo of our game. For years, Madrid has relied on vertical transition, meaning the second we win the ball, we sprint down the field at 100 miles an hour.
Right. The classic Madrid counterattack. It's pure rock and roll.
Yes, it's chaotic, it's fast, and it relies on pure athleticism. But when you face elite teams who refuse to let you counterattack, teams that sit back and pack their defense, that vertical sprinting just fails.
You just run straight into a brick wall.
Exactly. Bernardo Silva is the antidote to that. He sees the game face on, he puts his foot on the ball, dictates the tempo, and pauses the play when it gets too chaotic.
He calms the storm.
He brings a metronomic, calculating brain to the engine room. He dismantles the opposition with precise passing angles rather than just raw brute speed.
Okay, I see the tactical necessity of a player who can slow the game down. But here is my massive problem with this move, and it's something I've been agonizing over. What does this mean for Arda Güler?
Arda.
We are at a critical, really fragile moment with this kid. He just had a highly disappointing World Cup. Turkey gets eliminated early by Australia and Paraguay, and he comes back to Madrid emotionally battered.
It was a rough summer for him.
But think about what he did prior to that. A breakout season, 14 assists. He scored those stunning reality-bending goals against Elche and Bayern Munich. Internally, the club views him as 100% untransferable. So why bring in a veteran like Bernardo Silva to block his path?
It doesn't block his pass.
It feels like putting Bernardo in front of Güler is casting a massive shadow over a plant that finally just started to bloom. Doesn't this kill Arda's momentum?
No, stop right there. I see why you think that, but you are looking at this entirely the wrong way.
Really?
Bernardo Silva's arrival is actually the greatest thing that could possibly happen to Arda Güler.
How does putting a superstar veteran in his exact position help him develop?
Because it finally creates a defined structural role for him to inherit. Up until now, Güler has been a prodigy wandering the pitch without a fixed positional identity.
True, he kind of just floats.
He comes on the pitch and nobody knows where he belongs. Is he a right winger? Is he a classic number 10? Is he a false 9? By installing Bernardo Silva, Mourinho is creating a highly specific blueprint in this team.
The left-footed, tempo-dictating playmaker.
Exactly, operating inside the engine room. Güler now has an exact template. He isn't living in a shadow. He is under a masterclass apprenticeship.
Okay, so you're saying Mourinho is bringing in Bernardo to essentially act as the pace car.
Yeah.
Güler doesn't need to guess what his job is anymore. He just has to watch Bernardo and eventually surpass him.
You hit the nail on the head. Look at what Mourinho said internally back in 2024. This is a direct quote from his evaluations. Arda is showing great personality and differential quality. To play for Madrid, personality is very important. They cannot be scared.
They cannot be scared.
Mourinho is intentionally creating a dogfight for that role. He wants Güler to look at Bernardo Silva every single day in training and say, I am younger, I am hungrier, and I'm going to take your job.
That level of elite competition.
Exactly. It forces a player to evolve from a flashy prodigy into a true franchise player.
That makes a lot of sense. It's a crucible. You forge the kid in the fire. But let's connect this back to the bigger picture. Because look, mastering the midfield, dictating the tempo with Bernardo Silva, getting the wingers in the right spaces, none of that matters if you don't have the ultimate executioner in the final third.
And this is where it gets crazy.
This leads us to the most frantic, desperate search happening right now inside the club. We know the priority targets. The club is hunting center backs like Ruben Dias and Bastoni.
Heavy hitters.
They are hunting dynamic central midfielders like Enzo Fernandez and Mateus Fernandez. But Mourinho's absolute, undeniable obsession right now, he is demanding a pure, traditional number 9. A true plan B.
He is chasing the ghost of Joselu.
Exactly. Ghost of Joselu. Mourinho looks back at that 23-24 season where Joselu scored 18 goals, including that heroic, reality-breaking 9-minute double against Bayern Munich in the Champions League semifinal.
Absolute magic.
Mourinho wants that exact profile back in the squad. A penalty box striker. A battering ram. And because of this specific tactical obsession, Mourinho has completely frozen all the exit plans for our youth players.
He has pulled the handbrake on everything involving the Cantera.
Right. And for you listening, when we say the Cantera, we are talking about the famed Real Madrid Youth Academy, the factory that produces these kids. Gonzalo was supposed to go to Real Betis this summer.
Deal was basically done.
Frozen. Why? Because Gonzalo is incredible in the air and attacks spaces perfectly. Franco Macentuono evaluated closely, and because of his massive cost, the directive is that he can only leave on loan. They absolutely will not sell him.
They're protecting their investments.
And then you have ENDRICK. ENDRICK is returning from his loan at Lyon, and he is digging his heels in. He absolutely refused to go on loan again.
We want to fight.
He is staying to fight for a spot, whether it's played centrally or out on the right. Preseason starts mid-July, and Mourinho is demanding to physically test every single one of these kids before greenlighting a single departure.
Which is incredibly smart asset management. I mean, it is brilliant evaluation.
Is it, though? I really had to challenge the logic on this one. You look at our attack, with Kylian Mbappe, with Vinicius Jr., assuming he stays, with a returning, highly motivated ENDRICK, plus Jude Bellingham constantly arriving late into the box from the midfield. Why are we obsessing over a traditional target man?
Because you need variety.
But it feels archaic. Are we really going to stall the careers of brilliant kids like Gonzalo, keeping him from getting 30 starts at Real Betis, just so he can be a plan B that might only see the pitch for 10 minutes a month?
Yeah.
It feels like we are hoarding youth talent just to satisfy a tactical paranoia.
It is not paranoia. It is the cold, hard reality of how elite European football is actually won. You are romanticizing the beautiful game, but Champions League knockout stages are won in the absolute margins.
Okay, explain that.
Let me explain exactly how this plays out. You are facing a top-tier team. They set up in what we call a low block, meaning they drop all 11 players deep into their own penalty area, entirely eliminating any space behind them.
Right, parking the bus.
Exactly. When that happens, the beautiful passing game fails. Mbappe is double-teamed. Vinicius has no space to run into. They are just passing the ball in a meaningless U-shape around the penalty box. What do you do in the 85th minute when you need a goal?
You start crossing the ball into the box.
Exactly. But crossing the ball to Mbappe doesn't work against 3 giant center backs. You need raw aerial chaos. You need a battering ram who lives for those crosses.
The José profile.
Evaluating Gonzalo directly in Valdebebas under Mourinho's intense scrutiny solves this. If Mourinho throws Gonzalo into the preseason fire and the kid proves he can be the new José, Real Madrid instantly saves tens of millions of euros on the transfer market. They don't have to go buy a backup striker.
And if he doesn't cut it?
If he doesn't make the cut, you simply loan him to Betis in August anyway. Madrid still holds his high valuation. It costs the club absolutely nothing to delay his loan by 4 weeks, but it could potentially solve the biggest tactical hole in the squad.
I guess that makes sense.
And regarding ENDRICK, the fact that he refuses to go on loan means he is bringing pure fire to the training ground. Mourinho wants that friction. He wants a squad that is absolutely desperate to prove itself.
It is a pressure cooker. I mean, mid-July at Valdebebas is going to be an absolute bloodbath for these roster spots.
It is. Mourinho is building a machine, and machines do not care about sentimentality. Every decision, every frozen transfer, every potential blockbuster sale is driven by structural necessity.
So let's rapidly synthesize the sheer scale of the stakes we are looking at here. Mourinho and Florentino are engineering a ruthless, mechanized juggernaut for this 2026 campaign.
A total reset.
We are looking at the potential blockbuster sales of untouchable heroes like Valverde or a shocking exit for Vinicius just to fund the tactical equilibrium required by Mbappe. We have Bernardo Silva stepping in to reset the entire tempo of the midfield, creating a high-stakes crucible that will define Arda Güler's entire career.
It's all connected.
And we have these intense, high-pressure, mid-July auditions for the Cantera kids as Mourinho desperately hunts for his ultimate Plan B striker.
It is a total paradigm shift. They are stripping away the emotion, stripping away the reliance on chaotic counterattacks, and replacing it with pure structural engineering.
And that brings us to the ultimate, lingering question you really have to ask yourself. If Mourinho successfully executes this blueprint, if he builds this team around Bernardo Silva's calculated brain, if he constructs a rigid, flawlessly mechanical structure just to feed Kylian Mbappe and cover his defensive gaps, what happens to the chaotic, magical Real Madrid DNA we've relied on for the last decade?
That's the million-dollar question.
We are so used to winning on pure passion, on impossible 90th-minute comebacks, on individual brilliance pulling us from the absolute brink.
Yeah.
Are you ready for a Madrid that wins not by miracles, but by pure, cold calculation?
It's going to be fascinating to watch.
Keep your eyes locked on Valdebebas, because the preseason storm is already here.